What you want, when you want it, where you want it. This is The Mesh.
This podcast is sponsored by Jackson Creative, a custom communication agency located in downtown Hickory, specializing in online content creation. To learn more, visit thejacksoncreative.com. Jackson Creative, we tell your story.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Forecast. We are your connection to the who's who in the game of golf. We hope to make you laugh, learn, and win, and grow your golf IQ. I'm your host, Allen Burton, Director of Instruction for the Allen Burton Golf Academy at Lake Hickory Country Club in Hickory, North Carolina. I want to thank our listeners for tuning in. You can find us on themesh.tv, along with all your other favorite podcasts at themesh.tv. And you can check us out on Apple Podcasts. You can check us out on Spotify, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, all the basic podcast platforms that are out there. So I want to thank our listeners for tuning in. I have a fantastic guest today. I'm very pleased to have a little time to chat with our good buddy up the road there in Morganton, North Carolina, caddy for Kevin Kisner. And with us this morning is Mr. Duane Bock. Duane, thanks for taking some time out with us, buddy. Glad you're here.
Absolutely, Alan. Good morning.
Yeah. I tell you, our times are different now. You know, you're spending a lot of time at home with your family, and I know there's some enjoyable aspects to it. How are things going there in the environment there in Morganton, there at your house? Tell me about your day. What's happening most days?
Yeah, it's kind of like Groundhog Day, to be honest with you. I mean, every morning the kids get up and have breakfast. They check their online assignments. They do their work, have a little bit of reading time, a little bit of study. We have lunch, and then we head out to the golf course. So we are fortunate enough here that our club, Mimosa Hills, is open. It is restricted to members only, and the driving range is not shut down, but just irons only, that type of deal. So we're not touching the golf balls, we're not touching the flag sticks, the rakes, and all that other stuff is up. But we're able to get out and exercise a little bit and walk 18 holes and play some golf with the kids every day. So that's kind of been the routine.
Well, that's great. I know you're very proud of your youngsters. I'm really excited watching their careers from the sidelines and seeing the great things that your daughter and your son are doing. You know, Alec and Albany, both great, accomplished junior golfers. Are you their primary swing instructor, or you just play dad, or how does that go in your house?
It depends on the day, I guess.
Yeah.
Some days they like to listen. Some days they don't. I'm fortunate enough that Jimmy Piercy, the head pro here at Mimosa, he's great with juniors. His communication with the kids is great. And then another kid that is at Mimosa, he's a mini tour. He's a playing professional. He qualified for the Wells Fargo and made the cut last year at Charlotte. He's made the cut a couple of times at some web.com events, or now Corn Ferry events. So the kids really look up to him. He plays some golf with them. He gives them some tips on the driving range, and they seem to listen a little bit more as far as the physical side of the game from those two. And I'm out there playing with them and just trying to help them manage themselves around the golf course a little bit better. And then we like to keep stats. We keep stats on, how many, shots we threw away around the greens. I'm a big believer that my career was spent because I hit a lot of fairways, and then I beat people around the greens with chipping and putting. I was never really a top ball striker, but and that's a big part of the game, I believe. And even caddying for Kevin. Kevin doesn't bomb the golf ball. He has to manage himself around the golf course to beat these guys, and that's what we do very well. And so that's what I try to install into my kids.
Well, that's a fantastic message, and I know for our listeners, just to kind of understand where you've come from as a golfer. I mean, you started out as a golfer, not a caddy, and you were a fantastic amateur golfer, as well as a pro for about 12 years, and so. Kind of going back into those days, I know you played college golf at Campbell University, and you came out of East Hampton High School, and you're now a Hall of Fame there, Hall of Fame member at the East Hampton High School. Sports Hall of Fame. That's fantastic. And take us back to those college days and your tournament win there at the North-South in Pinehurst. I think it was 1992. That's a phenomenal accomplishment. I was looking through the past champions at that tournament. It's just the who's who in the game of golf. I mean, you got Jack Nicklaus's son, you got Davis Love, you got Curtis Strange. I mean, these are the golfers of legendary stuff, and you were the 92 North-South Amateur champion. So tell us about how you prepared for that win, and what did you do to be successful at Pinehurst #2 as a golfer?
Well, it kind of leads up to my road. When I played, I grew up in New York, Long Island, New York, in East Hampton, and so coming from a small area, I wasn't recruited when it came to going to college. So I had to kind of fight my way into some places, and I looked at some schools, and Campbell was the only school that would give me an opportunity to just come on campus and try out with the team. Everybody else, it was going to be a walk-on tryout type of deal where if I got through walk-on tryouts, then I could practice with the team for a year. And then the second year, maybe if I was good enough, I could go through the qualifying process and maybe make the team. But Campbell said, hey, you come on here and you're a walk-on and you go to tryouts. If you're good enough to make the top 5 or 6, whatever was going to travel, then you would travel. So I decided to come to Campbell, and I went there, and fortunate enough, I was able to get through the qualifying process right away, and played all 4 years at Campbell, and worked my way up into to be a scholarship player, and then my 5th year, I took 5 years to graduate at Campbell, and Campbell was nice enough to invite me back to school and let me become the assistant John Crooks as the the head coach. So I was his assistant for a year of my 5th year. So I was still able to go to school, graduate, stay around the game, stay around competitive golf. And then I graduated in 92 and left Campbell and went straight over to Pinehurst. And after, I guess, 6 days and 8 rounds of golf and two rounds of stroke play, and then into the round of 64, and managed to get through all my matches and win that early in the summer of 1992, which propelled me to be number 9 in the country as an amateur.
Yeah.
But that, just having to fight for everything that I've had to earn everything, I guess to say, is so that match play kind of mentality is really I love it. Kevin has that, finishing runner up and then winning last year in the match play for 2 years in a row. We made it to the finals there, and he's kind of taken that same road. He's had to fight for everything. He's won at every level. So there's a lot to be said with that. When things you have to earn your way, it makes you a little bit tougher.
Mm-hmm. No, absolutely. I think he's definitely known as a bulldog. Quote. I think his mentality is really, really tough through times. Golfers don't always have that mentality, though, do they? I mean, they don't always have that ability to deal with adversity properly. So with do you remember anything at all about the weeks leading up to your win in 92? I know that we're going back in the history book a little bit, but tell us, what you remember about how you prepared. Did you get over to Pinehurst and play the golf course a lot leading up to this tournament, or how familiar were you with the course? And what are some things you remember about your preparation to do that?
Well, it's kind of a unique story. Actually, I had a good friend of mine, Ken Wooten, who was he was a teammate of mine, and he met his college sweetheart in college. And then that 5th year, he graduated on time. I took 5 years, so I was still in school. But in I think it was that January, he got married in Seattle, Washington. So I went out to Seattle to be in his wedding, and we, as part of the wedding party, we went out and played golf. And I happened to slip and fall, and I dislocated my patella while I was out there. So when I came back, I had some arthroscopic surgery on my knee. I wasn't able to play golf, and that was all leading up. That was the January of 1992. So I spent a lot of time. All I could do was chip and putt, and I spent pretty much 3 months of my rehab was all chipping and putting. And the weekends, Campbell is only about an hour from Pinehurst, so I would drive on the weekends and go over there and just use their facility as chipping and putting. But that was pretty much my way to prepare for the North South. And it was also a tournament where you have to kind of get invited to. I remember I was denied. I had my coach write a letter. I had my coach make some phone calls to the tournament committee, and I finally got that invitation to be one of their participants. So it wasn't just handed to me. Coach had to kind of let them know what my accomplishments in college, and that I deserved a spot to at least get into the field of to try to make it into match play. So, but that preparation was all short game, and I'll never forget that final match. It's 36 holes. I think I had a one or two 2-hole lead going into lunch, and then we came out, and I got up and down the last 7 holes in a row. That final match 2 up. So it was my short game that won that golf tournament for me. I was the longest hitter. I was being outdriven by 40, 50 yards. Guys were reaching par 5s and 2, and I'd have to lay it up to 100 yards. And that 16th hole at the time was playing as a par 5. And Derek Brinker, was playing in the finals, reached it in 2, and I laid it up to 100 yards and got it up and down from 100 yards. And to maintain a 1-up lead there. And then I hit it in the back bunker on 17 in a dead position to a back pin. I almost holed that bunker shot and got that up and down, stayed 1-up, and then got up and down on 18 to actually win the 18th hole and 1-2 up. But
wow.
7 coming up and down, getting the ball up and down, and in spots where, I mean, I was nervous. My throat was dry. My hands were shaking. I was hitting the golf ball all over the lot. But I got it up and down, and that's what won me the championship. And that's what those are the things that I try to install in my kids, is that how important the short game really is.
No, that's incredible. Well, were you a short game guy that would kind of stick to one club? Did you have a favorite sand wedge that you used all the time, everywhere, or are you a multiple club guy around the green?
Well, I'm kind of a multiple club. My dad loved to play the short game along the ground. Used a lot of 7 irons and 8 irons, and hit a lot of bump and run shots. My dad believed the sand wedge was used for the bunker, and pretty much that was it, unless you had to hit a flop shot. I'll never forget that in college, in the early 90s, is kind of when that lob wedge, the 60-degree wedge, came out. And I'll never forget, I was one of the only ones that did not carry a 60-degree wedge. I only carried a 56-degree wedge, and more or less is because I couldn't hit it anywhere. I never really had length. So, I'd hit a 60-degree wedge, and the ball would go 60 yards, 70 yards. I never really hit it very far. And then on top of that, using those balata balls, those soft balls, the balls would spin, and to be honest with you, I didn't really have a lot of balls to be scuffing up and things like that. So, but I learned the game both ways. There was a lot of times when I thought my dad was crazy hitting a 7 iron, and he could have just pitched it on the green. But I learned from him early when I was young how easy, or not really easy, but how the shots, a bad shot would always work out a little bit better than my bad shot. When I mishit one when I was using a sand wedge, I mean, I either fatted it or I sculled it, and the results were just awful. Where when he mishit one, I mean, shoot, he still had a 10 footer to still save par. And the things that I learned early. And another thing is when I was growing up, I worked at a private club in East Hampton called the Maidstone Club. So I caddied in the morning, and then I worked in the bag room in the afternoon and picked up the range. And when I was waiting for those last carts to come in and the members to come in, I was always chipping and putting outside the clubhouse. waiting for those last members to come in before dark. And so I spent a lot of time doing it. And I just loved it. It was something that it didn't matter who I was competing against, whether it was the pros there at the club or if it was other caddies or if it was my older brothers. I felt like I could compete around the greens with anybody. It didn't really matter where. If we went out on a big course, well, of course they're going to, at 14, 15 years old, they're going to kill me because I hit it so far. But chipping and putting, we could always have a fair match, and it was a way to win $1 or $2 late in the evening, gambling with those guys. So the short game was always part of something that I enjoyed practicing.
Yeah. Now, was your childhood spent with long hours and days on the golf course, or were you a multiple athlete? Did you play other sports as a youngster?
I did. I played.
All golf?
Well, baseball was Little League. I played baseball all the way through 8th grade. It was Little League all the way through until 7th grade. In 7th grade, we moved up to the regular field, regulation bases and everything. And I played third base, and I was also a pitcher. So I did that. And then golf in New York, when you moved to high, and I also played 5 years. I would in New York State, you're allowed 5 years of a varsity sport. So even though I was in middle school in 8th grade, I was able to play a varsity golf in the high school level. So I played 5 years of varsity golf. But in New York State, it's a fall season and a spring season for us. We play head-to-head match play matches, school against school. The number one player would play against the number one player of the other school. And that was all worth 1 point. And then the low 3 scores from the team, that would add up to 3 more points. So there were 6 people on the team, and you were able to win 9 points each match. And then so we did that in the fall, and then in the spring we had our conference tournament. It was all stroke play, so we would have our all the schools would get together and play 18-hole matches as stroke play matches. And then we had our conference tournaments and our state tournaments and our county tournaments were all in the spring. So it was kind of a split season for us. And then in the wintertime, my first 2 years of high school, I bowled. My dad was a big bowler. So I just he always talked about bowling. He had bowling trophies in his house and things like that around the house. And so I bowled my first 2 years, but I always loved basketball. My friends were playing basketball. So my last 2 years, my junior and senior year, I played basketball. I wasn't, again, just like golf. I'm not the longest. I'm not the straightest, but I managed to be able to compete on the basketball court because I didn't throw the ball away. I could shoot the basketball, and I couldn't jump higher than anybody, but I seemed to always be on the weak side and get that weak side rebound type of deal and things like that. So I learned a lot. My golf you learn a lot by playing other sports and things like that. And I believe that kids growing up need to play multiple sports and be athletes first. And you learn from each sport, and you apply that to the sport that you're playing at the time.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think that's something parents need to hear. A lot of times the youngsters get into golf and they want them to over specialize and spend all of their time developing their skills as golfers. And I think it's a mistake to really focus early on one sport. I think there's potential for burnout. I think there's potential for, injury and a lot of potential danger just to get this kid needs an opportunity to develop and grow in a lot of ways. And team sports, golf has some team opportunities obviously now with the PGA Junior League. And I know your young golfers have played there, and it's a great opportunity, but they need the other athletic motion, and the other sports do a lot of opportunity for growing as a person and as an athlete, like you say. So I think parents need to hear that. Fantastic.
Absolutely, couldn't agree more.
Yeah. So with are you at this point in your golf career? I know you're getting to play a good bit right now, and do you feel like you've learned things about the golf swing that have helped you as a golfer? What are some of the things you've learned, if you have? And, you look back at your career as a young pro, what would you go back and do differently that might have kept you playing Any things that you've picked up or learned along the way that you could share with us there?
Because I've always struggled with my ball striking as far as being consistent and hitting shots more consistently, I guess. One thing that I did learn it, and I, now that I'm 50, it's changed. But back when I quit playing, 15 years ago, or 18 years ago, whenever it was. But one thing I said is, man, I wish I caddied before I actually went out and played, because one thing I did realize is how these guys at the elite level, at the best of the best, on how they still miss golf shots. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and at the time, when growing up in the late 80s, early 90s, golf coverage was always, I just remember this be the last 3 or 4 holes of the golf tournament. And then when they did expand to maybe the back nine and things like that, we only saw the leaders. We only saw the players that were hitting the great shots and making the long putts. And I just thought that's what pros did. I thought that's what the elite, the best of the best did. But now that I've caddied, I mean, you see it all. One of my favorite stories of all time is just last year or this year, actually, in Hawaii. We were paired with Webb Simpson, top 10 player in the world, major championship, and he birdies. We were in Hawaii. We started on 10, and he birdies 10. We stand up on the 11th hole, which is a par 3, and he takes this 6-iron, whatever it was, and just flat out shanked it. And luckily, it hit a tree, not knowing it didn't go out of bounds. I mean, it's heading right for the condos, thought it was out of bounds. Retees another one and kind of hits this big old slice that goes in the hazard, doesn't go out of bounds, but it's in a hazard. And I'm like, this guy is going to make a 12 on this hole.
Right.
But he luckily stayed in bounds by about a yard and walked off his little, 90-yard shot at whatever it was and knocked it on the green and almost makes par, makes bogey, and he goes on and shoots like 63 for the day. And so here's a guy who just literally shanks a golf ball, and then it was like it never even happened. And I joke around with him, and he says he shanks probably a handful of shots every year. But it just, to be able to have that mental ability to get over that, it's quite impressive. So, but as far as technique and learning, what have I learned? One thing I have learned is that not to really have the rabbit ears, I guess to say. Not everybody, what Kevin's working on isn't going to help me. It might not help the next guy that's sitting on the driving range. Instruction is very important. Finding an instructor that knows your golf swing, that there isn't a blueprint for everybody. But getting an instructor in front of you that understands your golf swing, that can break down your golf swing, and just because I'm standing on the range, the member next to me doesn't need to be working on the same thing that I'm working on. So,
Right.
I think instruction is a very, very an important tool to have. Somebody to be your eyes, because feel and real are two different things. I really, it's like I think I'm doing something, and then you put it on video, and it's like, oh my gosh, I'm not even close to that.
Right.
So instruction is very, very important. Somebody to look over you and watch what you're doing.
Yeah, well, I appreciate you bringing. Yeah, well, I appreciate you bringing that reality to the conversation, because I have a conversation often with my players that they're saying they want to be more consistent with their ball striking. They want to be more consistent with their golf swing. And the analogy I used oftentimes is the golf swings are like signatures. I mean, you have a signature. You might recognize your signature, but if I ask you to write your signature down on a piece of paper 10 times in a row and make them look exactly the same, you won't be able to do it. There'll be subtle variations in each of those signatures, and golf swings are kind of like that. The human skill is amazing, but it's not designed for absolute mechanical perfection over and over and over again. So I think that's really interesting.
Absolutely.
But, every golfer wants to be more consistent. Every golfer wants to hit it farther. And what have you learned about the accuracy component of a golf swing? Tell me what your knowledge says about hitting a golf ball with some reasonable accuracy, control, and direction.
Well, I think that comes with understanding your golf swing. I think that once you understand your golf swing and what you're working on, and learning why a ball went to the right or went to the left, You can apply what you already know and correct that, and that's where, again, instruction is so valuable. But I just going back and the career that I've been fortunate enough to be 12 years now with Kevin, and so I've been with him through his whole professional career that he's needed a caddy. So we've been through four instructors, I believe. He's been on with John Tillery now for the last 6 or 7 years. Um, but going through some instructors before John, Kevin didn't quite understand why he was hitting certain shots. Felt like he was doing the same things, but one would produce a ball that went to the right, and one would produce a ball that went to the left. And then on top of that, also distance control was be off because it'd be a slight mishit. So once he understood the reasons why he hit certain shots, and then could apply that especially while we're out competing during the round, its consistency got so much better.
Yeah.
And that's the biggest thing about consistency, is understanding what produces certain shots.
Yeah.
And even my son's only 13 years old. He's starting to learn why a ball went left or why a ball went right, and then applying just in his pre-shot routine what he needs to do. If he's missing multiple shots to the left, what he just needs to do to feel he needs to accomplish during a pre-shot routine. So when he gets over the ball, then he just can go ahead and hit it.
Right. Now, is Kevin, as a player, is he what you'd consider a very technical guy? Does he have a TrackMan? Does he use TrackMan, measuring what's going on with his face and path and attack angle and carry distances? Or is he just a guy that feels like, no, I don't need that, I want to kind of figure it out with feel? Or how does he go about what he does?
Yeah, Kevin's one of the few that does not travel with a TrackMan. He doesn't own it. Now his teachers, of course, they own it. Short Game even has it. So when he gets on a TrackMan, it's more as we call the weeks off, for just instruction. But while we're playing, we will get on a TrackMan, but we'll go through the wedge. They have a wedge combine on there, so where it'll spit out a number, and then he has to hit it that number. So we use the TrackMan for that. But he's not very technical. He's a lot of feel. I think that's why he's such a great putter. He sees the shot. He sees the flight of the shot, the trajectory of the shot. Now he understands what he has to do to, in his golf swing to produce that shot. But when he's over it, no, he just it's kind of more of a look and react, and the same with putting. He just he sees the shape of the putt. I'm a straight line putter. That's why I feel it's difficult for me to read greens for him, because he sees the curve in the putt, and so he does a lot with his eyes and with feel. So I would say he's not very technical in that aspect, but he knows his golf swing inside out. I mean, it's kind of a combination. I think when he's competing and when he's out on the golf course, he's feel, but when he has a week off and he's grinding, he's very technical.
That's interesting. I think that's what brings him to that elite level, and he's able to understand the technical elements of his swing. But when it comes down and the bell rings and you got to compete, you're trying to play the golf shots. You're trying to see them and feel them, and not understanding numbers necessarily, other than yardages. I think that's fantastic. That's why he's an elite player. So go back a little bit to where you met Kevin. I know the history says that you guys met at a U.S. Open qualifier, and he unfortunately missed qualifying that particular week by one stroke, I think, from what I've read. That led to a career with a top level player. When you finally did get into a U.S. Open, do you remember the first U.S. Open you guys qualified for?
Yeah, well, we first it was kind of almost full circle. The first time I ever met Kevin was in Memphis, Tennessee. I was caddying for a kid at the time. He no longer plays, but his name was Doug LaBelle. He was on tour. I caddied for him for 2 years. And we had the second stage of the U.S. Open qualifier in Memphis, Tennessee, just before the Memphis tournament. And we were not in the Memorial, which is always typically the week before Memphis at the time. And so we went to Memphis early, and you have to play 36 holes on 18 on two different golf courses. So we went on Saturday and went to the pro shop, checked in. We're going to go play a practice round. Went to the first tee, and this young kid sitting there with his college coach and ready to tee off. So we join him up, and it happens to be Kevin. And we spent the day together. And Kevin and I just kind of hit it off. We talked all day. I really loved his attitude. He was fresh out of going to the University of Georgia. Just won the national championship and things like that. So we hit it off. I loved how he was asking Doug a lot of questions about the tour, tour life, things to get better, what he needed to work on. He was just open-minded with everything. He wasn't that little arrogant punk that thought he knew it all, thought he was better than other people. He was really open-minded and wanted to learn. So he asked a lot of questions. And so he asked to play with Doug the next day. So we actually played Saturday and Sunday practice rounds with him. And we just stayed in touch. He did not get through tour school. And then in 2009, I was looking, that was 2007, 2009. I was looking for work at Q School. I called Kevin up, and I went to finals with him in 2009. And it was down in West Palm Beach, Florida. And that's where he missed his tour card by a shot. But he played well. He never backed down. And I'll never forget when I came home, I told my wife, I said, this kid has something special. I just knew it. I saw it. He had something about him that other people don't have. And I knew that, for lack of better terms, I really thought that, he was going to make me a lot of money if we could stay together. So, here we are 12 years later. But as far as our first U.S. Open, we qualified for our first U.S. Open at that same place that we met in Memphis, Tennessee. I believe it's called the Colonial Country Club. 36 holes there. We played both golf courses, and he qualified. And then it also happened to be back at Pinehurst where I won the North-South. So what qualifying was at the same venue as where we met, and then our first U.S. Open together was Pinehurst, North Carolina, where I won the North-South. So it was pretty neat to get back there and play, and it also happened to be his daughter was born. I think it was either that Monday or that Tuesday of the U.S. Open. So I was there and I was on site, and I did my coursework and stuff, but he didn't show up until late Wednesday, and we went out and played about 3 holes of a practice round. A thunderstorm came in, and they called everybody off the golf course. So he played 3 holes of a practice round before on his first U.S. Open. Unfortunately,
Wow.
the cut, but yeah, that was our first major experience.
Well, that's a fantastic story. That's what I was looking for in bringing that to our listeners. I think that's really magic stuff. Golf is full of magic, and you're part of it on a weekly basis normally out there. And right now, we're not getting to see the magic. What are your thoughts about as the year picks back up and you guys get back out there? What are your thoughts about the season, and what do you think will unfold for the PGA Tour this year, being so different? What are your thoughts?
I think the PGA Tour is in a tough spot. I just the longer this plays out, and the longer we're suspended from playing, it's just I don't know how they can complete the season. It's I think set to end the end of August, sometime around that time frame, and I don't know how they're going to do it. It's in my mind, I can't wrap around how you can be fair. I mean, there's so much with this game, with the PGA Tour. There's no guarantees that your livelihood depends on how you perform that year, and you have to keep your card. And if you're not going to give yourself, if they're not going to allow players to have full seasons, and their livelihood is on the line, I don't know how they can do that. And then not only that, the PGA Tour, they have the Corn Ferry Tour, they have the Canadian Tour, they have down in South America and in China, and so they're part of this. So if Corn Ferry Tour, that members that have only played they've only played a handful of events. So how do you determine who gets their PGA card if they've only played 5 or 6 events? So it's a tightrope that they have to walk. I don't know. I guess once they figure out when we can get back to playing, they're saying middle of May right now, which is a month away. But I don't know how that's going to happen. I really don't. I can't really see us getting back much more than maybe, again, I haven't heard. I'm just speculating, but the middle of June maybe.
Right.
Then
I've heard as well.
And then as far as these majors and with a non-calendar season, what does it mean? It looks like we're going to have 6 majors in one season, with moving the Masters to November, and then whatever the other tournament is coming in September. I don't know which, PGA or US or whatever. I think it's the US Open. But that means we'll have 6 majors in 1 year. So I don't know. I don't know how that's all going to work, and I just the unique thing about the PGA Tour is what people around here and when I talk to friends and members at the club, when they're like, well, golf can just get back to playing. I mean, you guys aren't a contact sport. You're using your own equipment. You don't have to play with fans. I mean, it's just we need something on TV and things like that, and which part of that is true, but what people don't they have to remember that about a third of the membership on the PGA Tour are international players. So they're home right now. They're in China, they're in South Africa, they're in Argentina, they're all over the world. It's a global membership. So, you have to, these guys, they have to be able to get here to play. And then once they get here, they may have to quarantine for 2 weeks. You don't know. And then at the same time, they're home right now with restrictions where they can't play. So you have to put all that into play as well. So it's not as cut it and dry as people think it is.
Sure, I think as we're looking at the whole world, everybody's got these same type of questions as to when we're going to get back to some kind of normalcy. I don't think there's going to ever be the same normal that we enjoyed 8-9 weeks ago. I don't think that's even possible. Moving forward, and it's going to be an interesting thing to see. I mean, I think golf is going to change. I think the PGA Tour is going to have to make some big adjustments moving forward, and we'll just have to wait and see. Unfortunately, we're not in those decision-making situations right now. We just have to do our best.
Correct.
But tell me what your thoughts about how Augusta National is going to look in November. I mean, what could we see in November with the Masters? Weather.
I believe what we're going to see is a wet golf course. I think with the overseed that they do, and this is just going back from prior experience when Kevin qualified for his first Masters. One thing that you're able to do is you kind of become a member of Augusta when you qualify for it. So Kevin spent that winter, that off season, going over to Augusta, living in Aiken, only about a half an hour away. He went over and played quite a few practice rounds during the winter months, during November, December, January, early spring before Augusta. And that golf course was playing so long that he made the comment that he'll never do that again, because you're almost hitting like a 5-wood into number 1, because it just hits into that hill and just doesn't go anywhere. So I think we're in November, because they overseed it. You have to put water on those fairways. It'll, no doubt in my mind, it's going to look beautiful, but it's going to play into the hands of a longer player, the guys that can hit it. It's going to be softer, so the fairways are going to be, even though the rough isn't that bad. There really is no rough, to be honest with you, but the fairways are going to be wider because they're softer, and it's going to play into the guys at the Rory and the DJ and the Bubbas and those type of players that I think are going to have a huge advantage there because of that. So and that's just going from what from what I've seen. Part of the cool part of qualifying for the Masters is Kevin is able to, when we went, he has to use a club caddy, but I'm able to go. He's also allowed to, one guest that can walk with us. So during that time we qualified for the first Masters, he would have a club caddy and play with a member, and then I was able to walk along with him. So to learn the golf course and things like that. So I was able to see the golf course during those winter months, and how soft it really was, and how tough it was playing. And the difference between then and April is huge. So that's just what I'm basing my theories on. But Augusta, they have the ability to do whatever they want to do. So with this sub air on the greens and in the fairways and everything, who knows? That people may think that, and I could be totally wrong.
Right, absolutely. That's going to be left to be seen, and for sure. And it's as you get back out there, you're looking forward to it, I'm sure, and you're enjoying your time at home like most of us. But you're looking forward to it when you get out on tour, and play. Who are some of your favorite pairings? You guys like to be paired with certain players. Who do you enjoy playing with and being around out there as a player?
I'm not saying it just to say it, but there are very few that I don't enjoy being around. And it's not really, I look at pairings. It's a kind of a twofold, because I look at pairings, how Kevin likes to chat between the round, between shots. When it comes time to hit his shot, he focuses in, but he does like to talk between the shots. So it's somebody that we play a lot of practice rounds with. Somebody like Kevin Chappell, somebody like Scott Brown. Guys that have the same interests as he does. He's an outdoorsman. He loves to fish. He loves to hunt. He has a farm that he does a lot of work on, that he loves. So he loves talking that. He loves talking Georgia football, anything Georgia. So, any of his past teammates, anybody that went to Georgia. But the reality, when I look at the pairings, I always think about who's the caddies in the group, because that's who I'm going to have to spend the day with. Right. They're all such, they're just such great guys. I mean, we're a big fraternity out there, and there are very few that I don't enjoy being around, and there may be a few guys out there that we don't see eye to eye, and we probably never go to dinner with, but when it comes down to work, and if I need some help breaking a bunker or getting something done, I mean, we have each other's back, and for 5 hours we're out there. It's all good. And but as far as Kevin, I just love to see that pairing when I know that he can have that banter with somebody like he loves Bubba Watson loves to kind of give that banter back and forth with Kevin, and talk about how hey, how far back did he hit driver off? Hey, he'll turn around. Did you hit driver or did you hit 3-wood? That kind of deal. And Kevin loves it, because he can give it and he can take it just as well as anybody else. So anybody that can give that banter back and forth is an awesome pairing for us.
Yeah. So who's the funniest caddy that you hang around with? The absolute funniest personality as a caddy?
One of the funniest that I love. People won't know him. He used to caddy for Colt Knost, and his name is John Davenport. He now caddies for Scott Brown. Scott and Kevin play quite a few practice rounds together, but this kid, he can take any situation and make a joke out of it. And just his little one-liners, it's some of them are not politically correct, but man, it'll make you laugh. And if we walk into the lunchroom and there's a seat at his table, by gosh, I'm gonna take that seat. And but there are times, I kid around with him and tell him, he's so funny. You can only take him in small doses, because it'll wear you out after about 10 or 15 minutes. But and he's a great cat. Yeah, he's
carrying a 50-pound bag doesn't wear you out. You get.
But and we've had communication. He'll send me these stupid little videos from TikTok or from Snapchat or something, and it's just I'll open it up and I'll laugh for 5 minutes. It's he's a unique one out there, that's for sure.
That's fantastic. So you have a favorite Masters sandwich? That's been my question last week, because I was eating pimento cheese and egg salad. I couldn't decide which one I love best. How about yourself?
Well, anybody that has seen me can pretty much tell that any sandwich is probably my favorite. But no, I started with that what is it called, the pimento cheese sandwich. But
Yeah.
then I tried the egg salad, and that egg salad is phenomenal. I mean, it's unbelievable. So
Yeah.
I would
Yeah.
say the egg salad sandwich is my favorite.
Yeah. I think I read somewhere where you used to have a nickname was Ice. You want to tell? You would tell us what that stands for?
They called me Ice, and not for like Top Gun or anything. It stood for I can eat.
I love it. Well, you don't get those big calves, but going around and picking on the carrot and the vegetable tray, my friend. But
It's like people are like, man, how you get those calves? I mean, you work out every day. I said every day I pick up the stand up. It's a workout. Carrying this body around is a workout.
exactly. And I think it was it last year that you had an injury going into Augusta? I mean, you broke your toe or something, right? Before going to Augusta?
Yeah, unfortunately, I'd say the last 2 years has been it's been a struggle for me. But the week before at the match play in Austin, I woke up Wednesday night to use the bathroom, and I came back and um, I hit the bedpost of my bed when I went to climb back into the bed. And whenever you stub a toe, it hurts for those 10 seconds or whatever. But I feel right back to sleep. It was about 3 o'clock in the morning. But then when I rolled out of bed the next morning to get ready, I knew I did something, and it's I didn't know it until I came home. I called my doctor on while I was flying home on Monday, and I said I have to get this checked out. And I had X-rays as soon as I came home, and sure enough, my middle toe of my right foot was broken. So um, I just and there's nothing to do about it. They put what they call a buddy wrap around it, where you kind of tape it or you strap it to a toe that's next to it, and go on your way. But it's quite a bit of pain. But then I fell in Hawaii this year. I just they say big people fall hard, and I fall. So I had total hip replacement a year and a half ago, and then I fell in Hawaii and fell right on my left hip. Um, and I've been struggling with that now this year. So it's been one thing after another. Turning 50, it gets tough, and unfortunately, carrying around this weight, my body is kind of breaking down a little bit. So I'm trying to do the things I need to do, and get better, but it's not it's been a long road, and but yeah, it's that's part of the job. It's what we do. There's no rest time for us. There's no downtime. But so now that we have this time, it's kind of you have to use this time to get your body back and get back into good physical shape and go from there. But it's definitely been a struggle.
Yeah, I tell you, I developed a tremendous respect for what you guys do. Last August, I got the opportunity to go to Ireland and play golf with three of my really good buddies, and we walked every round. We had caddies, but we didn't even carry the bag. And the walking, we played 8 rounds of golf in 10 days. Had one day off kind of in between, and we walked every day. And I was just amazed at how challenging that is in terms of I had blisters. I don't know if you've ever had blisters on your feet or your toes, but the caddies over there were very, very helpful. They told me about this product you could buy in the drugstores called Compede, and it was a real fancy little Band-Aid type thing you put over the blisters. And without that, I could not have completed every round, but I did. And it just, developed a new respect for what you guys do, because it's an unbelievable physical challenge to just walk that many miles. We're talking 4 to 6 miles a day typically, and for you, it might be a little bit more from time to time. But it
Yeah,
was unbelievable.
yeah. These Apple watches and these things that have from the time I get on property to the time I leave, it's anywhere between 8 to 12 miles a day from going to the driving range and the putting green and chasing down divots and everything else like that. It's about 8 to 12 miles a day for us, and but you realize how important good socks are and good shoes are, and things like that. You got to take care of your feet. If your feet are hurting, I mean, the rest of your body's going to hurt.
Oh yeah, tough deal. Well, listen, I tell you, we're going to wrap up with a few quick, short questions, and we'll fire a few at you, just to kind of get some more fun going. And they're all golf related, so no worries. How many hole-in-ones you had as a golfer?
4.
4 hole-in-ones. What's the count on double eagles?
2.
Oh my gosh, that's a lot of double eagles. How about lowest 18-hole score?
61, but in competition 63.
Wow. Lowest 9-hole score?
Lowest 9-hole score is 29, but I was 8 under through 8 and bogeyed the last hole.
How about your favorite top-ranked golf course that you've played?
Would be Pinehurst number 2.
And how about your favorite top-ranked golf course you've not yet played but wish to play?
From what I've heard, is probably is it Cypress out by Pebble Beach? Is that what it's called? Cypress,
Mm-hmm.
Cypress Point.
Yep, Cypress Point. Yep.
Or that'll probably.
I've got a chance to see that one with my buddy Bobby Clampett. Took us over there one day. We were out there teaching a golf school, and that's an amazing place. I didn't get to play that day because I had a flight back, but that place is unreal special for sure. So how about your if money were no object, what kind of golf clubs would you play?
As poorly as I'm hitting it right now, probably ping.
Okay. What do you play? What clubs do you play?
Right now, well, my kids, now that they've gotten bigger, my son took my old. I had to have Callaways. My son took my set of Callaways I was using, and then fortunate enough, Cobra made me a set of clubs last year, so I put those in the bag. And I was playing with my daughter about a month ago, and she's hit a couple of them with them, and she liked them, so I gave them to her. So, so
You're playing Geraldine's clubs now. You're playing your wife's clubs.
Exactly. I have right now my right-handed set of clubs. Kind of a fun little story. You got a minute? Is my right-handed set of clubs are now my wife's, which were Callaway Great Big Bertha that she never uses. But because of my my little issue with my hip and wanting to kind of take this time to kind of recover, I was getting a little bit of pain swinging right-handed. I could play a couple of days in a row, but then I'd struggle. I have a little bit of pain, so I decided to take up left-handed 2 weeks ago. So I am now the last 2 weeks I've been playing left-handed, and have a kind of a whatever clubs were laying around the inside of Mimosa Hills bag room is kind of what I've picked up. So I'm playing left-handed.
Little Mac O'Grady.
So I take that project on, and it's kind of cool because I play the forward tees with my daughter, and it's fun. My goal was to break 100, and I did that my third time around, and now the last 4 rounds I've been in the 80s playing from the forward tees. So it's a fun little project. So enjoy that.
Absolutely. I think more golfers should try that, especially the better you are as a right-handed player. And most coaches, can really appreciate the challenge of learning something new from that side of the ball. And I think it's a great way to do it. Fantastic.
And what I've learned is kind of being a parent. When I would help my kids with pitching or maybe a bunker shot or something like that, something that seems so easy to me, but then I turn around and try to do a left-handed, and now I can see where their struggle comes from.
Right.
'Cause I can't do it. I can't do what I'm trying to tell them to do. So that's it's helped me kind of. I'm not to say I'm an instructor or anything, but it's helped me kind of be a little less hard. I say on my kids.
Yeah.
Why can't you do that? It's so easy. Well, no, it's not. It's not that easy.
Exactly. I think more golf instructors and parents that coach their kids should try that. They'd probably understand the challenge of the game a little bit more.
Absolutely.
Oh man, I've enjoyed my chat with you today. I know we're going to wrap it up, but I tell you, you've given our area a lot to cheer for and pull for, and we can't wait to see you and Kevin back out on the golf course. And we'll get some more stories from the tour as soon as you get out there and create them for us. And just want to wish you the best, you and your family, to stay safe and healthy, and get that PGA Tour rolling so we can watch you and Kevin go win some more cash. And maybe next year it's not a Ford truck that he buys you, it's a new house or something. Tell him to sweeten the deal a little bit.
I know he's got to step up. I mean, shoot,
He's
step up high with that truck.
Well, we love you, man. We appreciate you taking time to spend with us this morning here. And listeners, I'll tell you, if you want to reach out to Duane, I know he's on some of the social media sites. So tell us how to get in touch with you through social media if the listeners want to say hello.
It's pretty easy. It's just my name, DuaneBock. And let's see, I'm on Twitter, I'm on Facebook, and I'm on Instagram. So, but I use my name, so it's easy to find. And sometimes it might be I might go a couple of weeks and you might not see anything but my kids on there. But I love my kids, I love my family, and so I'm proud of what they do. And also, I just want to thank you for having me on, and thank you for all the support. It's just, I'm overwhelmed by all the support I have from this community and around here, and around Hickory, North Carolina, Morganton, and things like that. It's quite overwhelming, and I appreciate everything.
Well, we're really proud of you and what you do, and we look forward to more great things from you, buddy. We'll talk soon. And that's it, listeners. That's been our guest today, is Mr. Duane Bock from Morganton, North Carolina, caddy for Kevin Kisner, and we can't thank him enough for spending a little time with us today, sharing some stories. We'll look forward to another show. Stay tuned. If you're an advertiser on the Mesh Podcast Network, it's a great low-cost way to reach a targeted audience. For more information on advertising on this show or other shows on the Mesh Network, you can send us an email at info@themesh.tv or by visiting the Mesh website at www.themesh.tv and clicking the advertise button. Thanks again, listeners, and Mr. Duane Bock for joining us. Stay safe out there, golfers, and if your golf course is open, get out and play. Social distancing as it is, it's an opportunity to learn, grow, and enjoy. Take care, everyone.
You've been listening to The Mesh, an online media network of shows and programs ranging from business to arts, sports to entertainment, music to community. All programs are available on the website as well as through iTunes and YouTube. Check us out online at themesh.tv. Discover other network shows and give us feedback on what you just heard.